Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the fly past and air display will now commence. The two ribbons are being flown by Lieutenant Colonel Vilagazi and Major Vundla. The two hawks are being flown by Major Nzuta and Major Peterson, with the air display being performed by Major Vundla.
Just marking the significance of this event. Also, just to indicate that the Commander-in-Chief of the Army is now here today in Botshabelo to lead the ceremony. We've just come out of the official opening of the Charlotte Maxeke Treatment Center. That's the rehab center, the first one of its kind here in the Free State. That will treat addicts of various substances from all over the province. Also, this is just actually a demonstration of the capability of the South African Defence Force.
Oh, you want to speak over the visuals?
Yeah. Just
approach him.
the Gripens helicopters, what they can maneuver, how they maneuver. That's what we are actually doing.
Okay. So that's just now one of the members of the South African National Defence Force just explaining to us that that is the Gripens aircraft that has now just been doing demonstrations, obviously to show that the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force is now in charge of this territory. Wow, that's very... just take us through what else is going to happen today.
Nothing is we are done now. Yes, because that's why I said now this concludes the air display. Now the Commander-in-Chief is going to leave here, then he'll go inside the hall, then maybe he'll be addressing the people. That's what he's going to do now.
Thank you very much. And I'm talking to?
You're speaking to Lieutenant Colonel Mahana.
Okay, that is Lieutenant Colonel Mahana saying that that was the conclusion of the air display by the Gripens aircraft from the South African National Defence Forces.
The Commander-in-Chief of the South African Army, President Cyril Ramaphosa, ending the first part of the commemorations of Freedom Day in South Africa. The second official program will take place in a bit. It's supposed to start at 11 a.m., that part being led by the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Minister Nathi Mthethwa, and the MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture and Recreation in the province, Ms. Dimakadzo Mahasa. We will take you through as soon as that starts, but this part of the program, the President almost tripping over there, thankfully not happening, but yeah, the end of that part of the program. And the next part is due to start around 11 a.m. And at the beginning of that part, SABC 2 viewers will be joining us for that part of the commemorations. In that program, around 5:11, there will be a moment of silence for the victims of COVID-19 and gender-based violence. This has been a consistent thread around President Cyril Ramaphosa's addressing of national days, where he recognizes South Africans who have died from COVID-19 and those who have lost their lives due to gender-based violence in the country. In fact, interesting enough, just the other day, information coming out that 356 life sentences have been handed down to 266 sexual offenses perpetrators. Let's take you back there the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Natim Tetwa, is beginning proceedings.
Hey, Maki. It's Freedom Day, not Mourning Day. Can we see that? Can we see that it's Freedom Day? Deputy Minister Mahopane Zulu is leading us. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much, and thanks everyone. We're about to start our program. If we may sit or take our seats, we will have to be too audible to contest and compete with our glorious army, the SANDF. What they've done is officially they have opened this important gathering today by singing the national anthem. And now they are singing Tanai Tanai. Thank you very much to the Army, the SANDF, and I would want us just to give them a round of applause. Our Army, in the presence of the Commander-in-Chief of the Army, President, His Excellency, MC Ramaphosa. Having opened with the national anthem, we won't waste time. We'll go straight to our program today. Firstly, I would want to acknowledge my co-program director, MEC Mahasa, here with us, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic, ministers and deputy ministers here present, the Premier of Free State, Premier S. Ntombela, members of the Executive Council, councillors here present, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we have gathered to mark an achievement by ordinary South Africans. The road to democracy in South Africa was marked by centuries of racial and economic subjugation, discrimination and oppression, with many, many ordinary South Africans, especially the youth, making the ultimate sacrifice in the quest for freedom and democracy. Today, South Africa is a thriving and growing constitutional democracy as a result of countless sacrifices made. The 2021 Freedom Day is celebrated under the theme, The Year of Charlotte Maxeke, the meaning of freedom under COVID-19. This year marks 150 years of the birth of two African patriots, Mama Charlotte Maxeke, the founder of Bantu Women's League, today African National Congress Women's League, and Dr. John Langalibalele Dube, who was the founding president, general of the governing party, the African National Congress. These two African patriots went on to distinguish themselves during their lifetime in service of humanity. From the theme, you'll also notice that the name of Umama Charlotte Maxeke is being invoked as a way to keep her as part of the nation's collective memory and consciousness. It is also our way of memorializing her and making a positive contribution in the transformation of our liberation heritage narrative, which is mainly patriarchal and male-dominated. We thought she needed to be honored this way in 2021 as a fitting tribute to her life of service and sacrifice, and more specifically, for her role in the attainment of the freedom and democracy we celebrate and enjoy today. The struggles of these two iconic figures of our country have left us a legacy of never allow your circumstances to determine your destiny. It was befitting that we chose this province, the Free State, where it all started, where the Parliament of the People was formed in 1912, the African National Congress. And throughout the lives of these two patriots, they have fought for the restoration of human rights to Africans, both at home and across the globe. They understood the nexus of race, class, and gender in our struggles, both at home and elsewhere in the world. These colossal figures of our country lived because they had surrendered their very beings to the people. They lived because their very beings embodied love, an idea, a hope, an inspiration, a vision of our collective destination. We would like to say, as we conclude this introduction of this day, Mr. President, I need to remind all of us that this year marks the 25th anniversary of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa into law. Amongst those who were central in crafting of this world-renowned Constitution is you, Your Excellency, and many other of your colleagues and comrades. We thank His Excellency and other fellow South Africans, all of them, that you worked with to ensure that ours is indeed a constitutional democracy. On this, we will have our colleague, on behalf of the Minister of Justice, the Minister in the Presidency, to just take us through on this anniversary when the time comes. But for now, our program dictates that for a moment, we observe a moment of silence for the victims of COVID-19 and gender-based violence and femicide. Could we all rise for a moment of silence? Thank you.
I'm saying it's my turn.
Yeah, it's you now. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My co-program director will take it from here and take us through the whole program. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Minister Nathi Mthethwa. Let me also acknowledge the presence of the President, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, the ministers present today, my Premier Mesisi Seforantombela, members of Executive Council, members of Parliament, I saw them here, the acting mayor, and the councillors, my DG, and everyone who's present here. I'm not going to waste time. La tseba nako ke ya bohlokwa. So ke tlo bitsetsa ka pele our one and only Premier to come and welcome everyone here. Premier Sisi Hexonia Ntombela, please come to the podium.
President, ki Freedom Day today. I don't know, just hanyanyana fela. Somito temo le tebo. Ba temal babedi. President, I mean it's Freedom Day, man. La rena le di problems, but it's Freedom Day. It's Freedom Day. It's Freedom Day, President. Hanyane fela, somito tla, tebo tla. Then you welcome a president. How do I know? Oh, I mean it's freedom. Hanyane fela samito. The president is here.
We're quickly dipping out of those proceedings just to welcome our viewers on SABC2 who are also coming along with us on these Freedom Day celebrations. Let's take you back there.
Yes. Thank you, Samito. Thank you. Tebo. Batu, Babu Asena, Babu Asani. Hurry, Hanyani fell. Free State mona batu Babu Asena Babu Esani Pakistan President wa tsamaya ke ba fe nakonyana minister nakonyana le hantse re na le mathata. But at least we are free. Batu, Babu Asena, Babu Esani, Magzozo. Baba mba itukise bata kwala president aketa kubua. How bana limphoqela njani? Oh, okay. And ha bina mona ho bonagala hore it's Freedom Day. Ha hona motho a ka reng yena ha hona nuts a ithotseng ka mora 1994. Hayo mathata ntse le teng, but Luena go fella deep down in your heart, thank you, Mama wa motseba wena. Give it. Demo, give it. Demo tshabelo wa twati mone tla o hlotha no. Batho babina sena. Ke o Demo. Hawe.
Oh, hara, hara disies, hara, amna kisepile, kiutsapile, agarisho, harash.
The President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, Ministers present, members of the Executive Council, Marena Aruna Atem Mona Kiaboni Bateng, member tsa rona tsa parlamente tse teng kwano ke bone chairs of chairs o teng mona, lead the deputy speaker o teng mona, mayors that are here, leadership of government, business, stakeholders present here today, South African public in general, and I'm sure I've seen my DGs also here. Let me just say, protocol observed. Ke sa lebalu bua ka setjhaba sa botshabelo seo re se etetseng letsatsing lena la kajeno, dumelang. Let me start by extending my special warm welcome to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. On behalf of the provincial government and the people of Free State, we are inspired by your leadership and pleased by your visit to the Free State. Our people have looked for a decisive and firm leadership during the last 14 tough months since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. You have proven to be equal to the task, Mr. President. It was really tough. Sadly, in the Free State, we have lost 3,800 lives have been lost. But we know this could have been worse if you did not provide good leadership you have provided. As early as you did, for that, we thank you. How no sakawayema? Watsitsipela. Wa etsa nthone basadi ba etsang wa tshara thipa ka bohaleng. E ka be ho hlokaetse batho ba bangata. Re a leboha, President. In marking this special day and a great achievement, we are gathered here to open this state-of-art facility named after struggle hero Umam Charlotte Maxeke. Umama Charlotte Maxeke was one of the founding members of the African National Congress Women's League. She was a well-educated, religious, social, and political leader who continue to be celebrated for stamping her footprints in the sands of time. This beautiful service delivery achievement is officially named the Charlotte Maxeke Treatment Center. The Department of Social Development will be working with the Institute to sustain the legacy of Umama through introduction of developmental programs. The official opening with the year of Charlotte Maxeke promoting women's rights in the age of COVID-19. Kajeno re butsi center ena ya rona e re reletseng ka mme Charlotte Maxeke e tlo thusa bana ba rona. Umam Charlotte Maxeke was and will continue to be a beacon of hope for the hopeless, the underprivileged, and the ordinary people of our country. She believed in education. She knew that through education, our people can learn to know, learn to be, learn to do, and learn to coexist and complete the rest of the world, and complete with the rest of the world. Her contribution towards the struggle against the non-racial and inequality will continue to inspire us and our future generation. Celebrations such as this one bring hope to our people and reaffirm that this government is indeed a government for the people. Throughout the contribution phase of this facility, Mr. President, 65 temporary work opportunities were created. By the beginning of May 2021, 100 people will be permanently employed here, most of which will come from the community of Botshabelo. Mona ho tlo hirwa batho ba legolo. Ba bangata ba bona ba tla tswa hona mona Botshabelo. President, the people who will be working here will include, amongst others, nurses, psychologists, social workers, management, and cleaners. Most of them will be women in honor of Me Charlotte Maxeke. And Hussein Jena, Babam Babona, President Osabafile, appointment letters. Ki kopani liemu, Harilika toilet Allah Ari. I have been waiting for so many years. Today, President Umfile appointment letter. I am so grateful. Ne ke sa kgolwe. It is infrastructure projects such as this one puts in front line of our economic recovery and shaping the lives of our people. The people of Free State want work, and this is the step in the right direction. Mr. President, Free State is a youthful province. Batjha ba bangata ba mona. It means Free State it tletse ka energy. And if we are not going to direct that energy to the right direction, re tla bana le problem. The Free State provincial government is committed to clean governance and a corruption-free environment where people can access opportunities and do business without fear. We are also committed to the eradication of substance abuse amongst the youth. Bana ba rona ba ya fela ke nyaope le di-drugs. Today, re re phansi ngenyaope phansi. The destruction of corruption, particularly in government, and crime against women and children, we are committed to the empowerment of women and youth, and we are totally committed to ending gender-based violence. The community of Free State, this facility is here to service you, to the people of Free State. Please own it and protect it against vandalism and crime. Let us ensure that it provides what our people everlasting service. Lastly, as I conclude, I want to make a special request to the President to take time in his busy schedule to visit the people of a small town in the Free State called Wynberg. Wynberg is one of the many small towns in the Free State that played an important role in the fight against apartheid. Our people there have requested a special visit for the President. Please, President, ha o na le nako, just visit Wynberg. O amolehile. President le matona a hao, re thabile haholo, re a leboha. Thank you very much.
Let's give our premier a round of applause. Indeed, this year is the year of Mama Charlotte Maxeke. In so saying, I'm going to call one of the, should I say friend, a doctor from the presidency of Wilberforce University, Ohio, United States, where Mama Charlotte Maxeke used to study. So I'm going to call Dr. Alfred Anthony Pickard to the front. Oh, is this a video? Oh, okay. Let's watch the video.
Good day. I am Alfred Anthony Pickard, and I have the honor of being the 22nd president of Wilberforce University. And I bring you a warm, heartfelt greeting from the Wilberforce University family. I am especially honored to have been invited to give remarks on the occasion of the celebration of the life of Charlotte Maxeke, a 1903 graduate of Wilberforce University. While she is a daughter of Africa, she is also a daughter of our beloved Wilberforce. In 1856, a group of bold, visionary, fearless people of African descent, members of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, imagined that an institution of higher learning might exist in the state of Ohio. This was an especially audacious imagining because most people of African descent in 1856 were enslaved in the American South, and yet the founders of Wilberforce embraced what was possible in spite of the circumstances they faced. They were emboldened by self-determination, tenacity, and a deep belief in their own power to control their future and the future of their progeny. Wilberforce University was born, and for 165 years, it has been a formidable presence in the incredible story of African American higher education. It is hard to consider in 2021 what the founding of Wilberforce University meant in 1856, when everything in the social, cultural, legal, and practical construction of America actively conspired to destroy the spirit, the will, and the humanity of people of African descent. The magnificent history and legacy of Wilberforce is embedded in the consciousness of every Wilberforce student, past and present. 15 years after the founding of Wilberforce in 1871, Charlotte Manny was born near Fort Beaufort in South Africa. God's plan would bring Charlotte and Wilberforce University together in a powerful destiny of a willful young woman and an American institution that would nurture her intellect and define for her the longing to make a difference in the lives of her fellow South Africans. The daughter of a teacher and lay preacher in the Presbyterian Church, Charlotte, no doubt, was given early a sense of intellectual discipline, duty, and purpose. Her sense of adventure would lead her in 1891 to join the African Jubilee Choir and tour Great Britain. It was during this tour that she met students from Wilberforce University and was introduced to what was possible for a young African woman at the dawn of the 20th century. Let me be clear, Mother Charlotte McClelkey would have become the incredible woman she became no matter where she would have chosen to go to university. But it was indeed Wilberforce University that gave her the fertile soil to fully flower as a magnificent social and women's rights activist. It was at Wilberforce that Charlotte came to understand the power of resilience and triumph over challenge. It was at Wilberforce that she met and studied with one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century, W.E.B. Du Bois. It was Wilberforce University's founder, Daniel Payne, whose scholarship in his name was given to Charlotte through the African Methodist Episcopal Church. It was at Wilberforce that Charlotte would meet and marry her husband, Marshall McClelkey. And it was Wilberforce that Charlotte pledged to return to South Africa to educate fellow South Africans. Wilberforce and Charlotte McClelkey were destined for one another, an institution whose very founding represented the power and majesty of what is possible when African people are resolute, and a young South African woman who defied all of the prohibitions of her day to transcend her gender and race and become the first woman in her nation to receive a university degree at Wilberforce University. After returning to South Africa, the history and legacy of Wilberforce burned deeply in the spirit of Charlotte. In 1908, she and her husband Marshall founded an elementary school in Aveyton, South Africa, and named it Wilberforce Institute. Supported by the AME Church, the school closed in the early 1960s because of the apartheid laws, but it reopened after those politics were dissembled, and it is now Wilberforce Community College. Because of Wilberforce, Charlotte McClelkey would grow into the woman she was placed on this earth to become. Because of Charlotte McClelkey, Wilberforce University would live in the life and work of one of its most accomplished alumna. Two formidable forces, a university and a young woman, brought together by God's plan and historical circumstances, each having left an indelible mark of the nation that bore them. We are Wilberforce University, the first and the future, and we proudly claim our daughter, Mother Charlotte McClelkey. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. That was the president of Wilberforce University. I think it will be a mistake, in fact, if I could acknowledge the traditional leadership, Mekhosi Khadi, Moroka in our midst, because we are Nklunyabona. So it will be a huge mistake if we don't acknowledge them. Le basadi ba seaparo, bomme ba tshwereng thipa ka bohaleng. The Women's League also is here. So I'm going to give over to the Deputy Minister, the Minister in the Presidency, to give us remarks on the 25th anniversary of the adoption of Constitution in the Republic of South Africa. So I'm going to call to the podium Minister Nchaveni. I don't know if ever I'm pronouncing it well.
His Excellency, the President of our Republic, Ntate Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, the Premier of our host province, Mme Sephora Sisisi Ntombela, the Acting Mayor of the City of the Roses of Mangau, Councillor Lebogang. It's time now to murder a surname as well. Moswetsa. No, we can't go there because if we start, you'll never get my surname and my name right. So let's be equal. Program directors of the August occasion, Ministers of Sports, Arts and Culture, Minister Natim Tetra, and the MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture in our province, Mr. Makatso Mahasa, my brother, Minister of Transport, Mr. Fikile Vutambalula, the son of the soil, my big sister, Minister of Social Development, Sis Lindy Zulu, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Lechisa Tsinodi, the Deputy Minister of Social Development, Sesi Henrietta Bupape Zulu, members of the Provincial Executive Council of the Free State, mayors, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm rising on behalf of my colleague and brother, Minister Ronald Lamula, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, who's not able to join us today because he's indisposed, but he's on his full health to recovery. He's a young man, so he recovers quicker. Mr. President, on this historic day, I would like to contend that we cannot celebrate our freedom without having regard to the democratic nation's birth certificate. That is our Constitution. Mr. President, on the 8th of May in 1996, you stood in front of the nation at the Constitutional Assembly, where at that August gathering, you characterized our Constitution as the nation's birth certificate. You went on to say, and I like to quote, "The Constitution with its Bill of Rights is a mirror of our society, of our South African society. It reflects both the history from which we have emerged and the values we now cherish, which are human dignity, equality, and freedom. It proclaims to the world that we are a society committed to democracy, we are committed to the rule of law and the protection of human rights. It proclaims to all South Africans that their basic needs and aspirations matter enough to be included in the country's constitution. The landless, the homeless, the women, workers, and the children of this country. It celebrates the richness of the diversity of culture, religion, and beliefs of South Africans and affirms that all belong as equal in our one nation. It commits the state to respect, to protect, to promote, to fulfill the rights in the Bill of Rights, acknowledging that it is not enough for government to refrain from violating people's rights." I end the quote. Mr. President, these words are as important today as they were 25 years ago. Our constitution forms the foundation of the society we want to be. Our forebears also envisioned a free and democratic South Africa centered on constitutionalism and regeneration of Africa. In April 1906, one of the founding members of the African National Congress, Pixlika Isakaseme, addressing the Columbia University in New York in the United States said, and I quote, "The brightest day is rising upon Africa. Yes, the regeneration of Africa belongs to this new and powerful period. The African people possess a common fundamental sentiment which is everywhere manifest, crystallizing itself into one common controlling idea. The regeneration of Africa means a new and unique civilization is soon to add to the world." I close quote. Ladies and gentlemen, we hold no illusions that the work required to reconstruct build a nation which is united in its diversity and address deep socio-economic inequality that needs radical impetus. As we celebrate our 25th year of constitutionalism, we are increasingly coming to terms with the reality that society does not consist merely of the law or the state. It has also a more informal aspect, comprised of its cultural institutions, convention, moral rules, and moral sanctions. In order for society to flourish, it must be just in its informal as well as in its formal aspects. In other words, for us to give true effect to our constitutional promises, we must ensure that the Constitution permeates all spheres of society. As we celebrate Freedom Day today, it is abundantly clear that the Constitution has not been entrenched in all sectors of society. Put differently, our economy is yet to be transformed, and none of us can claim that it is broadly representative of our diverse nation. We must be equally frank and hold those amongst us who have surrendered the will of the people and our constitutional democracy at the altar of personal gain and corruption. One cannot serve the will of the people and line their pockets at the same time. This we have seen in recent personal gains achieved at the expense of state institutions. Ultimately, our state institutions lost capacity to make good on the promises of the Constitution. It is exactly this behavior that former President Thabo Mbeki warned about on the occasion to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution, when he said, "Nowhere does the Constitution we celebrate provide that those who serve in government are permitted to abuse their power to undermine the objective to secure the well-being of the people of the Republic. Nowhere does it say that any public representative or official serves in any organ of the state in order to misuse state power to enrich themselves or acquire any benefits that will otherwise not be due to them according to law." I close quote. Nonetheless, fellow South Africans, during this difficult period in our new democracy, our birth certificate came to define who we truly are. Decades from today, future generations will affirm that it was our judiciary that stood as a last line of defense when our democracy was presented at the altar of corruption. As a nation, we need to carefully interrogate those amongst us who attack the judiciary when called upon to respond to charges of corruption proffered against them by law enforcement agencies. Are we not confronted with a new form of adventurism, where some amongst us believe that they can try to overthrow the state or steal from the state with absolute impunity? Are these not the same people who do not want to face consequences for their wrongdoings? Are they not trying to discredit and delegitimize state institutions and even try to turn society? My apologies. Are they not trying to discredit and delegitimize state institutions and even try to turn society at large against the state because they've been caught? We must interrogate these individuals closely and ascertain whether they are not the same individuals who may have derailed our democratic journey. Let us not be sidetracked by those who have refused the wise counsel of Mayor Charlotte Maxeke. Let us not be distracted by those who have refused to kill that spirit of self. As we commemorate 25th anniversary of our Constitution, the supreme law of the country, we must continue to reassert the core values of our nation without fear or favor. Our Constitution must continue to breathe life into our freedoms in a tangible manner. Now, more than ever, constitutionalism must be our true lived experience. In this year, the year in which our Constitution marks a quarter of a century in our lives, we will call upon sectors of society to not only locate themselves in it, but also call on our collective consciousness to assess how to entrench it in our communities. Constitutionalism must be lived experience of the LGBTQI+ community. We all must preserve the dignity and lives of all our citizens in spite of their sexual orientation. As we celebrate this Freedom Day, we must confront the reality that Lonwabo Jack and Andile Luluntutela were not offered the right to equality. This year, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development will unroll programs which will help us review the implementation of the Constitution insofar as the socio-economic rights are concerned, as well as systematic racism that continues to permeate our society. It is our hope that the current litigation process in the Constitutional Court, which affects the implementation of the bill, will be resolved within a reasonable period to enable us to have legal certainty on some of its provisions. In spite of this, we must live in society where our consciousness overrides our compliance with the law. Program directors, as I conclude, I also want to remind our friends beyond our shores that our Constitution ethos transcends borders. We must confront racism here and abroad. Human rights know no sovereignty. To this end, we will pursue justice where injustice prevails. In remembrance of heroines and heroes of our people who lost their lives in the fight for freedom and democracy in South Africa, let us all recommit ourselves to the cause of constitutionalism. Let constitutionalism reign, let freedom live, and may God bless South Africa and her people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Before I call the Minister, Ntate Nathi Mthethwa, back on the stage, I'm going to request Botshabelo Sunrise to give us or render us an item. Over to you, Botshabelo. I know Botshabelo people will be happy, hey?
Josiah Zangana Kumete, Pixley Kaisa Kaseme, Alfred Kuma, J.S. Moroka, Albert Litul, Oliver Reginald Tambo, Nelson Rolitata Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, the 13th president of the ANC, Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa. Oh, Tumamena, Tumamena, Matamela Ramaphosa, Tumamena, 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 Matamela Ramaphosa, Tumamena. Send me, send me, send me, send me away. Matamela Ramaphosa, Tumamena. Send me, Tumamena, Tumamena, Tumamena. Matamela Ramaphosa, Tumamena. Send me, Tumamena, Tumamena, Tumamena. Matamela, Ramaphosa tumamina, 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 Matamela, Ramaphosa tumamina, tumamina, Matamela, tumamina, Matamela, Ramaphosa tumamina.
It was a journey of
Hallelujah. It was a journey of hope.
It was a journey of peace.
It was a journey of peace.
It was a journey to dream.
It was a journey to dream.
It was a journey of misery.
It was a journey of misery.
It was a journey to freedom.
It was a journey to freedom.
From 1912
to centenary, it was a journey to freedom.
In 1964,
foundation was laid
by the ANC
in the Rivoniatra.
All our leaders
were incarcerated.
Other leaders
went to exile,
to Lusaka,
went to Robben. History was made in South Africa.
I choose number 1.
Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela.
I choose number 1.
Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela.
In the dock he says,
I have fought against white domination. I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the idea for a better democratic South Africa, of which all persons live together in peace and in harmony.
that is the idea.
That is the idea
of which I hope to live for,
of which I hope to live for,
and to achieve, But if needs be,
that is the idea of which I'm prepared to die.
Yelele mama
Hauna yatswana liyena.
Yelele ma
Yatswana liyena.
Yelele ma
Yatswana liyena.
Nelson Mandela,
Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela. Hauna yatswana liyena.
Matamela,
Nelson Mandela. Matamela. Hauna yatswana liyena.
Matamela,
Matamela. Matamela. Hauna yatswana liyena.
Nelson Mandela,
Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela. Hauna yatswana liyena.
Matamela,
Matamela. Matamela. Hauna yatswana liyena.
Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela, Madiba.
Halala, Freedom Day, halala. Minister Nathi Mthethwa, back to you.
Thank you very much, my co-program director. Can we again give a round of applause to the sunrise of Botshabelo? The Botshabelo sunrise, the Botshabelo sunrise. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, Program Director, ladies and gentlemen, friends and comrades. This day, Freedom Day in South Africa, is not only celebrated by South Africans. As you heard from US, Wilberforce University and around the world, because we are a beacon of a true constitutional democracy. As we woke up this morning, the Google Doodle is paying tribute to South Africa's Freedom Day, 27th of April, 2021. So if you want to check anything you Google today, you will see that Google itself is with us, South Africans. And it's an important day because it's an important month. It's a month where heroes were born. And also it's a month where some heroes lost their lives. And we can't exhaust them. But one of such is the first president of an independent Ghana, President Kwame Nkrumah. So it's an important month. The other important person is Mayor Charlotte Maxeke. This is her month. It's Oliver Reginald Tambo, president of the African National Congress, who passed away this month, some 28 years ago. It's Martin Luther King Jr., who was assassinated during this month. It's Bram Fischer, was born on this month. It's Ma Winnie Madikizela Mandela, who left us a few years ago on this month. It's A.P. Mda, it's Solomon Mahlangu, it's Chris Hani, it's Maya Angelou, it's Hugh Masekela, was born on this month. It's Jafta Prajef Masimula of the Pan-African Congress. It's Trini Moodley, it's Stanza Bopape, the list is long. This is the year, this is the month of heroes, the month of South Africa's freedom, Mr. President. This is by way of urging you and pleading with you to come and address the nation.
Let's be seated, please. Dumelang. A ke nka re le robetse. Ke re dumelang. Happy Freedom Day, happy Freedom Day. Program Director, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. The Premier of the Free State, Mercy Sintombela, ministers and deputy ministers, MECs in our province here and from elsewhere, other provinces, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Ntadele Chesa Tsinodi, the Acting Executive Mayor of Mangaung, Councillor Lebohang Masweta, as well as other councillors who are in our midst, members of the provincial legislature, the traditional leaders who are in our midst, and representatives of various political formations, civil society representatives and leaders, the leadership of our military, the South African National Defence Force, members of the media, and fellow South Africans. I want to especially greet the people of the Free State for the very warm welcome that they have accorded to us as we landed here, as we arrived, and as they saw us, many of them waving their South African flags. I really want to thank them for having this feeling of celebrating Freedom Day. I am delighted to be here, Mobutshabelo. The initial arrangement had been that we would go elsewhere to Windhoek, but because of the logistical arrangements, we had to come here. But as Mayor Mantombela has asked, I will go to Windhoek to go and meet the people for Windhoek. And I will do it in my lifetime this year. So it is a real joy to be here. It was here in the Free State that many struggles were waged against colonial rule and later against apartheid misrule. It was also here in the Free State that the South African National Native Convention was convened in 1909 by a number of leaders such as John Langalibale Ledube and many others. The Free State is the birthplace of the South African Native National Congress, which later became the African National Congress. It was also here in the Free State that the historic African Claims document was adopted in 1943, setting out the demands of South African people for the realization of their rights. And it was the people of the Free State who bore the brunt of racist past laws and who actively resisted these laws. We particularly salute the resistance of the women of the Free State who embarked on a massive campaign of defiance against the past laws in 1913 and a number of years thereafter. This campaign of resistance, particularly by the women here in this province, was led by Mayor Charlotte Maxeke, Kati Low, Katrina Simmons, Cecilia Makiwana, and many others. This campaign set in motion a movement that soon spread throughout the rest of the country. And after Sol Plaatje visited
Oh my word, we seem to have lost connection with that line. President Cyril Ramaphosa speaking at the Freedom Day celebrations in the Free State. Let's take you back.
To these women, they are determined to fight the past laws no matter where they might be. They are fighting for the freedom of women in the Free State. They don't care even if they die in jail. That was the courage of the women of the Free State as described by Sol Plaatje. It was this courage that inspired future generations of women to fight against the past system. In a similar way as the women of 1913, the women in 1956 mobilized themselves, and 20,000 of them marched to the union buildings to fight against this unjust system. They were prepared to resist, and there was nothing that was going to stop them. They stood for what was right, but not for themselves, but for their fellow men and women. And it is for this reason that we say, Mbokodo, we salute you. We honor you, and we thank you for the struggles that we waged to get our country to where it is today. The freedom that we enjoy today, that we celebrate on the 27th of April, is in large measure the result of the struggles that were waged by the women of our country. In saluting the role played by women in our struggle, I am glad that the Ministry of Social Development and the Free State Government have created a legacy project in honor of Ms. Charlotte Maxeke through the establishment of the Charlotte Maxeke Treatment Center to address the psychosocial challenges our people face here in Botshabelo. I would like to applaud and congratulate Minister Lindiwe Zulu and our Premier here, Mema Ntombela, for the vision that they have displayed in creating this historic monument in honor of Mema Maxeke. Thank you very much for this. We will continue to build monuments to remember the heroes of our struggle. We will continue to honor those who fought for freedom. We will continue to create all these statues that will make us remember from where we've come from, but that will also be a great history lesson for those who will come after us. We also salute the men and the women of this great nation whose sacrifices have made it possible for us to be here today. We salute today's generation of men and women who have taken up the cause of freedom, who have taken up the cause of equality, non-racialism, non-sexism, and human rights for all. They are the worthy inheritors of the baton of struggle passed to them by those who came before us. This year marks 27 years since we attained our freedom from apartheid misrule. On this day, we recall the historic events of the 27th of April 1994, when we voted for the first time. On this day, 27 years ago, we closed the chapter of the horror story of apartheid. Nelson Mandela, the father of our nation, took the salute from a unified defense force we now call the South African National Defense Force. The meaning of this new order is always so beautifully displayed by the new generation of soldiers who represent the diversity of our country, as we saw today when Major Vundla, Lieutenant Vilakazi, were flying the Gripens, the mighty jet fighters of our nation, and Major Nzuta and Major Peterson were flying the Hawks. Now, this is a clear representation of the change that has taken place in our nation. In the past, these jets would have been flown just by white people. Today, there are black young soldiers who are flying these fighter jets. Under apartheid, this would never have been thought of or seen. Much as they are all men who flew today, we know that there are also young women who fly these lethal fighter jets. Now, I want to say to our commanding officers in the SANDF, do make sure that we see more and more women in key roles in the Defense Force. Because we know they are there. The entire nation was filled with pride when we saw Major Mandi Samfeka flying the Hercules during the inauguration. We want to see more women rising to high positions in the military just as men do. There are celebrations taking place across the nation, and we will be waving the national flag and singing our national anthem. Minister Nathi Mthethwa, in being overwhelmed by the beauty of this celebration today, whispered to me a few minutes ago and said, "President, we must make these national celebrations bigger and bigger so that they can get more and more of our people to participate so that we can consolidate the identity of all of us as South Africans, because this is what forms a nation. We must celebrate our national day like Freedom Day because it was hard fought for. We got here through the struggles of those who have come before us. Celebrate this day and celebrate their lives as well. And Minister Mthethwa, I agree with you. You now have an order to go ahead and do it. We will share stories with the younger generation of where we were on that day, because they need to hear where we were on the 27th of April in 1994. They will want to hear what were you doing on that day, but they will also want to hear what were you doing before that day. They will also want to hear our experience as we stood in the voting lines and queues. Today we have a country where all enjoy human rights and freedoms. We have a constitution that is a shield and a protection for all South Africans. We have made great progress towards realizing the rights of our people to a better life and advancing human dignity. And yet, even as we have lived in a democratic country for the past 27 years, we know that across many parts of our country, the promise of 1994 has yet to be fulfilled. Millions of South Africans still live in conditions of poverty and deprivation. For those who continue to suffer from the lack of basic services like running water, for those living without proper sanitation, as many of our people live under such conditions here in Botshabelo, for those living in fear every day from violence and crime, and for those who have no jobs to support themselves and their freedom and their families, true freedom still remains elusive. The legacy of apartheid remains a defining feature of our land. Even after nearly 3 decades, it continues in many ways to determine where people will live, what assets they own, what schooling they receive, and what jobs they can do, and how safe they feel. As we celebrate this Freedom Day, we can point to the great progress that we have made in confronting the legacy of apartheid. From the provision of water, electricity to millions, to opening the doors of learning to the children of our country, particularly the poor, to the provision of health care, to lifting millions of our people out of abject poverty. But we cannot celebrate Freedom Day without acknowledging how much further we still need to go. We cannot deceive ourselves and say, yes, we are free at last, without knowing and acknowledging that there is still a lot of work we need to do to improve the lives of our people. It cannot be that 27 years into our democracy, that our people are being deprived of even the most basic services like water and sanitation because of poor planning, incompetence of some of us, mismanagement, or corruption of some of us. It cannot be that access to housing, education, and decent health care is being undermined because those tasked with service delivery do not care enough. Our people expect that those who have been tasked with the job of improving their lives should do just that. And they should not steal the resources that belong to our people and put them in their own pockets. A continued practice of stealing the resources, abusing the resources, diverting the resources, and wasting the resources is an affront against our people, and our people deserve better. They deserve the best that this country can give. So it is on such a day that we need to reflect on some of those missteps. It is on a day like this that we need to remind those that we have put, that you, the people of South Africa, have put into key positions, that their preoccupation must be the people of South Africa and not themselves. In exactly 6 months from today, we will be holding our 6th local government elections since the advent of democracy. We will be going to the polls at an immensely difficult time in the life of our country. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to have a devastating impact, not only on public health, but on our economy. But ba heso ba bangata ba lahlehetswe ke mesebetsi. Ba bangata ba lapa malapeng a bona. Abana dijo, abana mesebetsi. Kodua ena e etsahetse mona South Africa, la e etsahetse dinaheng tse ngata, ka nnete re kentse mathateng. Bao ba di business ba na le di business tsa bona, ba bangata ba bona ba fumane hore ba tlameile hore ba kwale di business tsa bona. Families are struggling to make ends meet. The task of rebuilding our society and our country indeed is a great one. Every South African will need to be part of the great effort to restore our economy to health, to create more jobs, and to grow more businesses through the economic reconstruction and recovery plan that we announced. Every South African will need to remain part of the fight to overcome COVID-19. We are still in the midst of the pandemic, and the likelihood of a third wave of infections remains ever present. This means that we cannot let our guard down even for a moment. We need to continue to practice all the measures that we've been talking about, the social distancing, washing of hands, and making sure that we are not congested in closed spaces. We must continue, yes, to wear masks, and I'm glad to see that all the people who are here today are wearing masks. We must do so whenever we're in public spaces, and we need to continue to observe all the measures. If we remain vigilant, if we exercise caution, if we act responsibly, we should be able to delay a resurgence of infections and maybe even be fortunate enough that there is no resurgence and we should be able to save more lives. In the coming weeks, we will be launching the second phase of our national vaccination program, which will focus on the most vulnerable in our population. We had stopped the Johnson & Johnson vaccine for a while, whilst our scientists and health experts were determining the efficacy and the safety of this vaccine. Minister of Finance, Dr. Mkhize, recently announced that we are going to commence, and the commencement, I think, starts today or tomorrow. We will now be continuing with the vaccination program for our health workers and thereafter embark on the second phase. Vaccinating our people is a massive undertaking that will need the support and the participation of all South Africans. In its size and complexity, in its reach and impact, the national vaccination program will be similar in many ways to the first democratic election that we held 27 years ago on this day. The success of this vaccination program is vital not only to overcoming the coronavirus pandemic, but also to enabling us to continue with our struggle for the realization of the rights of all South Africans. Democracy rests on the beliefs of free will and free choice. Our vote is the most potent weapon, the most effective weapon through which we can improve our lives and transform our communities. Whether you are in a village or a town or a city or a metro or on a farm, I call on you to exercise your right in the upcoming local government elections. I call on you to decide who amongst the many candidates has the ability and the determination to work tirelessly on your behalf. I call on you to determine the future of your own family and your community by putting your confidence in those parties that have the best policies and the will and the means to implement them. And I call on you to demonstrate with your vote your intolerance for corruption, for theft, for mismanagement of the funds that are meant for the benefit of you, the citizen of our country, the citizen of our province, the citizen of our local government. These elections are an opportunity to make your voice heard and to be part of the change that you yourself want to see. Of the many great facets of democracy is that we are able to exercise our right to protest. Our Constitution gives all of us the right to assembly, the right to protest as well. But when we resort to violent demonstrations, when we resort to burning, looting, and the destruction of property, we are undermining the very cause that we seek to advance. We are also undermining the democracy that our Constitution offers to all of us. Exercising our right to vote is by far the most powerful form of protest. If those who claim to serve you are not doing so, vote them out. Take them out. Because that is the one weapon that we all have. Demonstrate to them that you don't approve of the way they are running things. If they are stealing money, vote them out and take them out. If they are abusing your resources, take them out through the vote. Over the passage of time, our democracy has grown and it has matured. So too should our approach to exercising this important right be so. Let us be guided by our loyalty alone. And our loyalty should be to our country. Our loyalty should only be reserved to that one country that we all share. The struggles waged by our forebears were not for themselves alone, they were for the generations yet to come. And today we are the inheritors. We are reaping the fruits and the seeds rather that they planted. We are now reaping all those wonderful fruits. And we must respect the struggles that they waged to bring us here. We must take a firm stand against the social ills that prevent the men and the women and children of South Africa from living lives of freedom. We must take a firm stand against violence that is perpetrated against women and children. We must speak out and report any instances of gender-based violence, even if the perpetrators are close to us. As a country, we must say no to homophobia and all forms of intolerance against members of the LGBTQI+ community. Over the past few months, there have been a series of terrible crimes that have been committed against members of this community, including murder. This is something of which we as a nation should be deeply ashamed of. I want to send a strong message that hate crime will not be tolerated in our society, and that those who are behind these crimes will be found and be brought to book. Nobody has the right to take the life and abuse someone else because of their sexual orientation. No one has that right at all. Fellow South Africans, many have paid the ultimate price so that we are able to breathe the clean air of freedom today. Over the years, we have encountered and overcome many challenges, but there are still many challenges that we are yet to overcome. These are problems common to all of us, and they impact on all of us. But like those who came before us, we understand that no challenge is too great that it cannot be overcome. The democratic breakthrough of 1994 liberated black South Africans from the tyranny of apartheid. But it also liberated white South Africans from the shackles of untruth and the false belief in racial superiority. This is because we chose the path of non-racialism, of reconciliation, of national unity, of creating a new nation from the ashes of apartheid, and we chose the path of peace. After 27 years, we are still striving to be a South Africa that belongs to all who live in it, be they black or white, man or woman, rural dweller or urban dweller, able-bodied or living with disability, regardless of their beliefs, their language, or their sexual orientation. Let us acknowledge and let us appreciate, and more importantly, let us celebrate the diversity of this country, for it is what makes us who we are. We are who we are because of the diverse nature of our nation. We may come from different backgrounds and different regions in our country, but we call ourselves South Africans with pride. We call ourselves South Africans living in the most beautiful country on earth. What is needed of us now is that we hold fast to the rope of unity as we confront our many challenges. And we have many challenges. And this past 2 years, as the pandemic started, our challenges just increased and were compounded by the pandemic. We are living through those challenges, but we will overcome. We will get over these challenges. It is the responsibility and duty of every South African who believes in this country and wants it to succeed, to believe that yes, we will overcome our challenges, but also to work together to have us overcome these challenges. Let us not abandon hope that we can become the country of our forebears fought for. Our forebears envisaged a South Africa that would be free, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous for all. Let us not give in to doubt and pessimism. Let us keep striving to address our challenges. Step by step, brick by brick, let us build this great nation together. That is what history demands of us that as South Africans, we must be united in building this country brick by brick, person by person, until all our dreams have been fulfilled. Wherever you are today, I wish you a happy Freedom Day. Modimo aboloke setjhaba sa heso, Nkosi katekisa Afrika Dzonga, Nkosi sikelela iAfrika, Mudzimu baphathuchedze Afrika Chipembe, God seën South Africa, and God bless our beautiful country, South Africa, and protect her people. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Ka message o re fileng ona. Maybe one can say a word or two. Hore unity is very much paramount. Thank you, President, for emphasizing that. I'm now going to call the acting mayor of Mangaung Metro to give us vote of thanks. Over to you, the acting mayor.
Thank you, program directors, the Honorable Minister Nathi Mthethwa, and MEC Memahase, Your Excellency President Ramaphosa, Honorable Premier Madam Sisi Ntombela, ministers gathered here, MPs and MPLs present, executive mayors and councillors, the family of Meshalot Maqeke, government officials, who are here, the priests, and everybody gathered here. I also see the leadership of the ruling party also here. My greetings to you. Honorable President, I would like to pass my sincere gratitude and gratefulness to you for being here in Botshabelo and opening this big facility in this area. This means a lot to us as the people of the Free State, and especially the people of Botshabelo. Botshabelo is one of the very special places in Mangaung. I think in the whole of South Africa is the second biggest township. And you can imagine, Honorable President, what resources we need to bring here. Honorable President, this place has produced a lot of very young leaders. I think even in your cabinet you have some of them who are very intelligent, who are very dedicated to their struggle. And for you to have actually sacrificed and decided to come to this area, it's an honor to us. It's an honor to the people of Mangaung. It's an honor of the people of Botshabelo. As you speak, President, and opening this beautiful facility, what goes through my mind is that our country has another scourge, a scourge of vandalism. This government, President, since 1994, the inception of the freedom that we are celebrating today, has done a lot for our people. But if we look back, many of our facilities, President, that we built as a government, they end up either becoming white elephants or being seriously looted. In one of the Lekgotlas, ANC Lekgotlas, I think the issue was raised about the vandalism in the country. It goes to the extent that even our railway lines, they are being looted. Everything is looted. And I want to plead with the people of Botshabelo to say this is a facility that has been built with very scarce facilities, resources. And I want to beg you to really look into it. Particularly, the President has said in his address that we will continue as a country, as the government, to honor our fallen heroes. Charlotte Maxeke being one of them, and it's my challenge to the people of Botshabelo to make sure that this facility is guarded with pride because it means a lot to us. The whole world, you have seen for yourself, the whole world is celebrating the Freedom Day of South Africa. And today, if we are being watched by the whole world, opening this facility, and tomorrow when we pass here, it's down to the ground because of the looting, because of the vandalism, then we will be appearing as a country that is irresponsible. President, you also mentioned, I just want to touch on that. You also mentioned violent protests that are happening in this country. Mangaung at the moment, President, is experiencing the same thing. Instead of our people negotiating and reaching agreements peacefully, we always resort to vandalism. We don't even care when we resort to violent protests. We don't even care that this has been built with the scarce resources. I can mention, Honorable President, that in Mangaung at the moment, we are, as the municipality, also have embarked on the project of IPTL. It's in process. Millions of rands have been spent on that. But I can tell you that, President, at the moment, that project is being vandalized. And I would also plead with the President that our law enforcement must please not fold their hands when wrong things are happening. There is, in this democratic society of South Africa, there is no place for violence or even undermining the efforts of the government. President, I don't want to take your place. It's very difficult to speak after the president. Mine was just to close and thank everybody who was here. Thank everybody who made this event the event it is today. You send your staff, President, long time before this. They assisted us together with the officials of the provincial government and the municipality. To them, I want to say thank you very much. And also the law enforcement agencies which were here and made sure that this gathering and the celebration of Freedom Day goes as planned. With those few words, President, the Premier, and all the ministers, councillors who are here, I want to say thank you very much.
Now that is how we wrap up Freedom Day celebrations here in Botshabelo. Earlier we had a speech from the president of the country, President Cyril Ramaphosa, and he was actually calling for unity in the country. Also noted that there are many challenges in this country, issues of service delivery backlogs, issues of inequality, and he also said that communities, he actually encouraged communities that they have a democratic right to hold protests when they are not happy, but discourage them from, destroying properties and looting, various businesses that we've seen happening, in other parts of the province as well as the country. The president also emphasized the importance of the vaccine rollout. And, one thing that I can also add is that we have our colleague Aphumelele, who is out now in the field, also talking to residents of Botshabelo who want to see jobs here in Botshabelo. That is all coming from Botshabelo on this Freedom Day. With that, it's back to you in studio.